things like that. That question, I think, that's actually something I learned recently as well. I would say, like the difference between a man and a boy, right? A boy thinks of themselves. They're always like, how can I get better? How can I get rich? How can I do this for myself? Me. A man, really, a real man actually takes care of the others. So they sacrifice themselves. It's not about me. It's about how can I help others? Like, how can I help my wife feel better or comfortable or provide for them? How can I make their life easier? And I heard that somewhere, I read it somewhere. I was like, man, that's so true. That's like, I always like, man, what's the difference between a man and a boy? Like, I was like, I always try to find a clear, simple definition. And that's it. And that's definitely even my brother and my brother-in-law, they're 18, 19, but they're still boys. And I knew there was a difference, but I just couldn't figure out what that difference was. And that's what it is, because they always think about what's the best for them or what helps them in their situation. They don't think about their parents, and I think about us, and I think about other people. They just think about them. So as a husband, I've learned that as well. So that's something my wife was always good at, to be mindful. The key word of 2020 is mindfulness. So being mindful of others, being mindful of how you speak, your posture, and the way you talk. And like, you can say something right, but if you say it wrong, in the wrong posture, it can come out wrong anyway. It's not the right attitude. But mindfulness, I think, is something that, yeah, you just have to be that perspective of thinking of others. Like, so her five love languages is acts of service. It's one of her main ones, and that's my worst one, in sense of like, that's like, I feel like that's the hardest to do, because you have to physically do something every time. Like, it's not like hugs or like say a word. Like, actually making tea and actually doing stuff. But by doing that, I've learned like, it's making my wife's life easier. Like, asking for tea, or hey, can I take the kid? Like, making my wife's life easier is me being a man, showing that I can actually help her, being a equal partner in a marriage, right? It's not about her just serving me, making dinner, making food and stuff like this. I can make dinner for her. I can make, food. I can take care of that. I can do it. I'm taking initiative as well. So mindfulness and initiative, I think, is important in a marriage. I think, to work properly. I think a lot of people come into marriage like thinking like, okay, the wife will cook, the husband will go work, and then they come back and then cook. But then, I don't know, I think it's different, but we've worked it out where we balance each other out. Of course, she does sometimes more and I do more, one of the other things. But on average, we're thinking about each other. We're thinking about how can we help each other, even through our tiredness, I think. And even with a kid, like, it's hard because you're so tired to even thinking then again for your husband, or vice versa, like me for my Jess, like, how can I make her life easier? And for me, I think I've been doing that, like, give me extra hours sleep. So she, I take her from like Zala from 6 to 9 to give my wife like straight sleep without worrying about kids. So I do 10, 11. I just keep hold her to sleep. I'm just holding her to sleep while she sleeps. But simple things like that make a world of a difference. And that's what I think sacrifice is needed as a man, and woman too. But like, as a man, I think men need to step up more and sacrifice more to help their wives. It's not about working, getting more money. I think that's where we default to traditional roots of like, the husband needs to provide. But for me, the husband can provide. I've seen so many, couple, I say Asian couples, but that's because I just said stereotyping, right? I'm not being racist here, but they work hard day in, day out, come late to provide financially for the kids, but they're never there physically. They don't give attention. They don't give that love. They don't give that hugs, just simple things that kids need. For me, as I said, my dad, that's shaped me to never want to not be there for my kids. So financially, I've stepped myself up to prepare for investments and things like that years ago, before I even got married, before I even got in a relationship, because I knew that the father I wanted to be was a father that had the flexibility to be at all my kids' events, to take them, to karate games, soccer game, basketball games, whatever it is, to be there, especially at the grand finals and the most important ones, like, to always never put work first, but put them first in these situations. Um, because of something else, that backstory to that is because friendships and people, the things that are made, like what makes friendships and people members pivotal moments in their life, right? For example, if your parent died or if your friend died, me being there for you when they needed help the most is that memory that secures that friendship. If you needed help moving, if you needed help or something that was pivotal when you graduated or something like that, me being there in those times are the most memorable times, compared to just being there every day in, day out, and not being available on those important days. So you could have a friend and be there all the time, but they have graduation or they have something they're proud of and you're not there for them.
It could be a time when they just need someone to talk to.
Correct. And the pivotal, that's what I said, there's pivotal events, right? Like, I think that's what the key word is, pivotal events. And that's something that I learned, like, man, that makes so much sense. All my good friends, I've been there for them. Like, the friends I've had for years, 10 years, 20, 15 years plus, I've always been there for them when they need help. I mean, they might have not been so much for me, but it's not about that. It's about being there, like being available for them.
Yeah, it's not about I do something for you, then you do something for me. It's not about that, is it, Trip?
correct. No. It's about just being there whenever you need. Like they're not keeping count, or I think that's the most
Yeah,
important.
the scores in the sky.
Correct.
You can't count it, eh? It's in the sky.
Yeah, you can't yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But we live in a society, Trev, where it's hard now, isn't it? I find if you don't have those grounded values, you can be pulled away.
Oh, 100%. It's easy. Even if you have the values, you can be pulled away if you're not focused on the character. I think character is important, right? I think that we talked about this one time as well. It's about the character you are. Like that's why even Apple and all these companies, they don't care about your skill set because they can teach you skill, but they can't teach character. And that's something that you're born with. You either have it or you don't. And that's why I love companies that you either have it or you don't. Like that's why like Apple. I mean, you can obviously change, but in end of the day, if you're a selfish person, you're going to be a selfish person unless something pivotal changes you to think otherwise, right? Like a pivotal moment in your life, or trauma or something, right?
Basically, there's a bomb under your seat, so to speak. It wakes you up.
Yeah.
But unless you're going to get that catalyst, it's very hard for you to make that change.
Character change, right? As a human being, as a person, or the way you perspective, because we're all brought up a way, to think of a certain way because of the way we're brought up, in TV, media, whatever it may be, family, influence, environment. It all shapes the character as well of who we are as people.
Male breadwinners, the wife cooks, all that jazz.
Yeah, correct.
So for Nate, it's beautiful, Nate. So it seems to me that Jess is also so. It seems to me that you and Jess, you both compromise for each other, yet it's natural.
Correct. It's been very natural for Jess. I guess for me, to be honest, it wasn't natural for me because my mom used to do stuff for me, cook, clean, stuff like that. I would always help. So I would help around here, there, but obviously not as much as my mom did. Same with Jess. Like she was very nurturing. She's the eldest and I'm the eldest, but then she took care of her family. Like she cooks and cleans like every day for them. Like in her house before, when I was dating her, she would cook for dinner every day, most days, for the whole family of 4 or 5 they have. So a big family, and she'll cook every day, and it's effortless for her, right? Because she's brought up that way, because her parents brought up that way. And now she's moved out. Her sister does the same thing now. She didn't do it as much before, but now she's stepping up. But the thing is, I've seen the difference between people like that, like where the children are brought up in the household to cook, and people that the parents keep cooking for them. So when they get married in married life, or when they get in a relationship, they can't cook. The girl can't cook, the guy can't cook, and it's just like they learn to cook. It's fine, but simple like home skills like that makes a world of a difference when you come into marriage, and even as a partner, a life partner, man. Like when Jessica cook, I was like I wasn't like a big, like I can cook too, but the thing is I don't like cooking. Like for me, it's like it's a chore, what I mean? Like I'll cook and I can cook, but it's just more like I don't find like de-stressing. That's what Jess said. She actually finds it de-stressing. She finds it tiring, but still like it de-stresses her, like this relaxes her. And she can do this day in, day out. And for her, so when you got married, I think one of her biggest fears was financial, like how to take care of bills, how to, just financial things. She never knew. Her parents never taught her, like she just never got exposed to that. And for me, I was like, man, that's the easy part. I can easily take care of it. I can't do that. I'm scared of the cooking every day part, like providing food every day. And she's like, oh, I've done that. So we actually complemented both our weaknesses were fulfilled within each other, and then vice versa as well, right? So it worked out for us. And now we're like, we do, and we help each other too, but it's there. Like, so I think something that complements you, it's not always easy to find. But
did you know that? Did you know that, Trip? Obviously, in what sense? How long have you been on Jess for? But
7 years, so 7-8 years now.
And obviously, how did you know that? But
you've gone.
Actually, let me take, because I'm guessing your approach would have been refined over the years, right? So I'm curious, mate. Like I've got friends who, 37, 38, hitting 40, and they ask me, how do you find that one? And I said, I got no idea. I for me, just quickly, Trevor, I know my wife now for almost 20 years.
Wow, amazing.
And what you tell me, what you share with me, sorry, buddy, in terms of I keep the score in the sky. I don't count. Yeah. And it's funny, because whenever we do something, I do it for her. She does it for me. And in a funny way, it doesn't connect because she's more interested in my well-being and I'm more interested in her well-being. But you'd sort of see a disconnect as sort of a negative thing. It's actually hilarious because we just laugh about it because we know that she looks out for me, I look out for her, but and we always know that, and it just gels. So what would you tell someone, Trev, who's maybe a bit more developed in the years, so to speak, and has, we've all got ego. That's why I said humility is very important.
It is.
How does someone get to that stage, Trev, where they can find that partner who's like that? Is it more, is it more actually, I think I probably answered this, mate. It's really the change that needs to come from within, doesn't it? The approach, the mindset.
It's correct. It's a mindset, but also preparing yourself for marriage. So this is something I tell the younger guys. I mentor younger kids as well. Like, as I said, like cooking skills, right? Some people don't know how to cook. They don't know how to, like, for guys, fixing things, simple things like where now in day and age, like people just because they're in their iPads and their phone, they're in their tech, they don't like know how to do simple, like, fixing a tap. Like they'll pay someone to do that. But that skill set is a very important skill set.
Mowing the lawn, fixing the lawn.
Mowing the lawn, yeah.
Fixing mowing the lawn.
Yeah, just fixing little things, mowing, doing even house chores, like putting the clothes out. Some guys don't even know how to. At least if you know how to, it's okay if you don't do it. You know what I mean? At least you know how. But a lot of people don't know how. That's the scary part, right? Because like cooking and stuff. That's what I mean. Like, oh yeah, I can cook, but what? Like an egg and 2-minute noodles, fine. But can you actually cook a meal from scratch? You know what I mean? Like just knowing the basics of like onions and cutting onions, things like that. But what I'd say for your friends, right, is developing those husband skills and father skills for the guys, and mother skills and wife skills for the women. So to be focused on while they're single, I think singleness is a blessing as well, and there's a season for it. But in that season, don't just be desperate to look for husband and wife. Once you develop yourself to be that, I think you'll naturally attract it. But I think being the right person is what you say, like sacrificing yourself, serving others. People watch how you behave in groups. So something in our church we say, right? Like if you're interested in someone, don't just go with them one-on-one. Go with them on a group setting, a group, like, go out with a group bowling or whatever, right? You'll see how they behave with others and you can see their true character. Because on a date, you're always on your best behavior. You're trying to please. If you're not pleased with them, then they're not going to get any better. It just goes downhill from them.
Fantastic advice, buddy.
Yeah. So go in a group setting.
Go in a group settings. See how they treat other people.
Yeah. So 2-on-2, like even with you and your wife, you can go with other couples, or singles and couples, and 6 or more people. And you see if they're generous with their money, if they pay for people, they pay for yourself, or they give you drinks, whatever. You can see their heart or where their foundation, money, life. You can have those deeper questions without actually being intimate or being a one-on-one setting. Where it's a date setting can be a little bit. I think a lot of people get nervous as well. Like, it's awkward, that nervousness. It gets all taken away if you're with their friends, your friends, whatever, especially. But one thing you said is, how do people meet other people, right? How do they meet their life partner? I think a lot of people now do online dating and things like that. Nothing wrong with that. I know my brother met his life partner, like, online dating, Tinder. So that was a funny story, but they're great for each other, you know what I mean? But it's rare. It's not a common thing to meet on people on apps. So what I recommend is like simple. It's like, what do you do with your life? Like, what passions or hobbies do you have, right? If you go to gym, go to gym. If you go basketball, go basketball. Church is great. Like, that's how I go to church. Like, we meet people, communicate. It's not just to meet people. It's obviously to encounter God, but it's a community. It's a community.
It's a connection. And like what we talked about at the start, Trevor, it's the people. It's the people. Correct. It's the relationships. Because those are the things that are going to be the most enduring.
And correct. And that's what you need that in general anyway. So even if you don't meet anyone, it's not about meeting people. It's about having something to outlet for sport, basketball. You meet with groups, you meet with mates or girls or mixed groups, right? And you can meet people through that. There's so many people that play basketball, sport, any sport, right? Hobbies, collecting stamps, online chess, even online nowadays, you play virtual games. I know couples that have met online through, WoW and other things. They just chat, and then one of their friends introduced to another guy. Now they're happily married, 2 kids, you know what I mean? So there's ways of doing it. But if you're doing nothing, just going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, there's no place really for you to meet anyone except at work, you know what I mean? Or like somewhere on the way to work, which is not that common, right? It's quite rare. I mean, a lot of people do meet at work, and that's why they end up with whoever's at work. That's why you sort of see that this thing I've noticed, right? Like the cutest girl at work, or all the guys go after them, or vice versa, right? The cutest guy. but doesn't mean they're right for you just because they're like the best in the lot in your office. There's obviously
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's a full suit. So I think it's important to, if you're still single and you don't have a sport hobby, get out more. Like I know it's COVID, but there's play sport. If you're not good at sport, there's something you do, cooking class. There's reading books. I mean, there's everything.
There's always something, isn't there, Trev?
Correct. And
I
I would
find
encourage you to do that.
I find sometimes, I have a good mate of mine, and like, he's dated a lot. He just got out of a relationship, and he tells me that whenever he goes on dates now, it's very hard for him to. Well, I think first and foremost, he needs to see that person in the group first. I think that's great advice. Secondly, he instinctively goes through a checklist in the back of his head. Since he met, X number of women before, right? He doesn't like that. So when he goes meets that new person, right?
Yeah.
In his head, he goes, okay, does this girl do that? Okay, no, she's good. Tick. What about this one? No, I get that tick. And the third one, actually, that reminds me of that girl I dated 2 weeks ago. No. And straight away, he cuts himself off. And then like you said, the posture and demeanor completely changes.
Correct. And then I think there's two things there, right? It's like having a list. So then basically you know what you want. But at the same time, people get too picky as well. I think you can be picky, no problem being picky and knowing what you want. 100%, that's fine. He's being with girls, he knows what sort of he's attracted to, like exactly. There's certain ethnicities you're attracted to more than others, just because the way you're growing up. Simple. You can be Asian, still like, any ethnicity, or hate other, like not hate, but just not find it attractive, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that is important, I think that's key. Chemistry. When you fall in love with a partner, you want to be attracted to. For guys, it's attractiveness. For girls, it's what they hear. So how they speak to them, the words they speak, right? So I think that's important. But there's a point where it's too picky. So they need picky, right? For example, I had a list as well. But I've been told like, my list is too much or whatever, right?
Oh, you actually had a list back in the day, Trip.
Oh man, my list is like probably the big. I had 72 things on that list.
Wow. Obviously, this was before Jess, right?
Yeah, way before anyone, like years
72,
ago.
like a 72-point checklist, essentially.
Yes, but the thing is, the Lord made it. Like I believe God would just tick every single box, most of the boxes, right? But that's the thing I've learned is that just because they don't have it straight away doesn't mean they can't get that character or personality. So some of it was, I can't even remember now, but something just didn't have right in my checklist. But then over time, she had it like naturally. Like I didn't tell her to do it or have like a list, but she got that. Like, she developed that naturally, right? And so then that like looking back, it's like, okay, cool. Man, I was like, oh yeah, she slightly has it, but then it's a definite. Like if I look back now, like yeah, definitely, it's not even a brainer, right? But that's for me. But the thing is, for that list, it was a different kind of concept. So maybe I'll go into that a little bit deeper because I had basically negotiable and non-negotiable. So that's something I'm like, okay, if they can cook, great, but it's not going to be a deal breaker for me with them, right? They smoke, that's a deal breaker. For them drinking, okay, occasionally is okay, but the alcoholic, not deal breaker. And for me, it's tattoos and things like that, right? But then I guess that's what the two lists for: negotiables and non-negotiables. So things that they have to have or can't, like being Christian for me was main one.
That's definitely non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable. Having a good family, relationships was important. So things like that, non-negotiables, that's fine. But then non-negotiable, like, whatever, they have it, it's a bonus. If it's not, no. But she had both, all the lists. So that's why I know like only God could provide for that, because I know in my life, I'm like, man, picking, it's the
you can't, you're not gonna, God did that. You're not gonna, you yourself wouldn't be able to do that.
Oh, not in a million. That's why I was like looking like, man, maybe my list is. And that's why when I was praying, like, because when I met Jess, I had a 2 years, not sabbatical, but basically 2 years not dating anything like intentional. So even if I got in a relationship with a friend, even if they were like my life, I said, only a sister, like that's it. Like I only saw them as a, best like a sister or friend. I would never treat them as a girlfriend, because I was very like, I was in a relationship before that, just for desperation, because I'm getting older. I mean, I'm trying in my own strength. So I stopped. And in that time I did pray, God, make me more of a man, make me more ready to take care of family. So one thing that God did actually in that time was actually my friend Bobby. He owns a farm. So he bought a farm, and he's like, oh man, come out there, help me. So in that time, like I actually did develop like mindset where doing things when it's tough. For example, like we were building a fence, right? And then it started to rain, and this guy would just jump in, like he just jumps in. He's ruthless. He just jumped in the river, and like I think one time his cow went in or something, and he jumped in the river. My brother like, nah, I ain't doing that. Like like for me, I'm like a safe, cautious person, but he just like didn't think twice.
I'm gonna ruin my $500 shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't have that kind of shoes, but yeah, sure. But the thing is, the question is the mentality of him just getting things done. Like for example, he owns a business, right? If an employee comes out sick, he's not being, oh, this guy called out sick. He's not whinging. He's like, what's the next solution? I need to get someone to come in. You know what I mean? It's not like he wastes
Why
time.
me?
Yeah,
Why is the world so cruel to me?
yeah, you just there's problem solution. Find a solution, move on. Like don't hold it against that person, whatever. The problem he can't come in, so no whining or worrying is going to change that. So get in and get it done. So him doing that and me going to his farm, helping him through the hardship and like doing that and seeing that helped me to learn. Like even for my family, because I was someone like, oh, if it's raining and the electricity goes out, I'm like, oh, I'll let my mom do it, like or my dad or like someone else do it, right? Like I'm not like that person that will go out first to do it. But being the husband, you need to. Who else? If not you, who else would do it? You gonna make your wife go out in the rain tent? You know what I mean? Like what kind of man? Like I mean? That mentality hit me hard.
Yeah, what kind of man are you, mate?
Yeah, exactly. So that's all right. So
It's funny, Trev. Just the other night, like my wife calls me the mosquito whisperer because it's funny. It's funny what you say, Trev, about having kids and wife, right? I can't sleep until I killed a mosquito in the room where my wife and son sleep.
I was there. My wife won't sleep until I do that for her as well.
I will not sleep. So I would sometimes, Trev, sit there. I'll get my iPhone light. It's mosquitoes, right? Just a side point. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Right? They always just loiter around the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So I would sit there. That doesn't matter what time it is. I'll sit there. I'll keep looking up, and I'll kill it first. Then I'll go to sleep. And what's funny?
How do you kill him though? Do you kill him with your hand? Do you kill him with a mosquito bat? Like there's certain things you kill him with. So how do you actually?
So ideally, it's on the wall where I can squish him, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when it's obviously in the ceiling, right, I'm gonna lose it, right? And then about to fall asleep, so I can't get a slipper and just whack it. So I think there's this spray where it's like non-poisonous or something, but it's not as effective as it is natural stuff, right? So I just might hit a little sprig and hopefully it flies down, and I'll just see it fly down. I'll observe it. It lands. Then I just get like a tissue and scrunch it up. But what I'm trying to say, mate, is that the power of getting back to be a man, mate, is
sacrifice.
What's funny, mate? I don't think it's even being a man, Trev.
Correct. It's not.
It's just I want to make sure my wife and sons don't get bitten during the night so they can just fall asleep. That's it.
Correct.
It's nothing about being a man.
Correct. Yeah, I'll take that word back. I think I'm just saying more in my example because I'm just trying to say like for guy boys that are men, but it is even for my wife. My wife will do certain things until she's done it to make my life easier, right? Like for Zyla or she'll do something, stay up, and the same thing. It's different scenario, right? Or she'll stay up and sacrifice her time or whatever it is just to make sure that we can sleep well or until I can sleep well as well. So yeah, please, yeah, that's a good correction.
Oh no. It's just and I'm sure for you and me, buddy, like it's taken time, mate. Like for a very long time, you talk about growing up and influence. I for a very long time, Trev, I thought life was a zero-sum game. If you win, I lose.
Yeah.
Zero. It was always zero-sum to me, right? But then a catalyst came, as you know, you need that catalyst, right? You're never going to change it. I said, you know what? This is so stupid. This is so stupid. Like if I can help Trev, like if I can help a friend and I can grow that pie, it's win-win.
100%.
Why not? Why not? And
why does it have to be?
No expectations. I count the score in the sky. Actually, I don't even count them. I threw away the pen.
Yeah, exactly.